found out in my past few years of doing this, there was 4 main paths on building wealth. We already broke down a little bit ago before, though, on your internal why and external why, also breaking down all 3 different pillars of wealth: happiness, wealth, and health. Now, for those who are new to the concept of building wealth, one thing easy to kind of think about is going to be Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He's all about, breaking down the 4 quadrants. The first one is E, it's employee. And this is kind of breaking down our 4 paths to wealth. Most people in the world are in that E category. They're employees. They work for somebody else. That's not a problem. I used to be an employee for many, many years when I was younger. And most people will start off as an employee before they go to the next level, which is self-employed, which now is a slave to ourselves. And you cannot create true wealth by being self-employed by itself. Because when you're doing self-employment only, that means that I can only make X amount of dollars per day or X amount of dollars per year because it's my time and place for that. I gave up a job working 40 hours a week to work 80 hours a week for myself. There's more freedom, more control, but it's also less at the same time. So the E and S. And those watching right now, in the comment section below, which one are you? Are you E section or X section? Or if you know the Rich Dad Poor Dad quadrant already, are you part of the next 2 parts? Our next one is business owner. They own a system. They have people working for them, below them. That is a big part of this. Again, I'm going to show you guys, though, 4 main paths and how it looks pretty soon. This is kind of get a taste of the iceberg and see how it actually looks on a granular level. So business owners, it's all about leverage. They're able to have a system that works for them, employees working for them, and so forth. Goes to our next point for I for investor. And investor, I would say the sound is kind of the dream. 5% of people are doing this in the whole world. But those who are billionaires are these kind of quadrants. People who are business owners and people who are big on investing. Warren Buffett has a business, many businesses, but his main thing is investing his income into properties or into stock markets and so forth. So you look at the whole quadrant there, you have E or S, B, and I. Employee, self-employed, business owner, and investor. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, the goal is to be turning your active income, this fiat money, that's not worth that much anyways, into passive income, which is buying real assets, properties, stocks with dividends, and so forth. And once you have that down, just know the average American takes 40 years to have retirement. It took me, 9 months to get financial freedom to one of the vehicles I'm going to show you in this car here, but normally it takes 40 years. If you're lucky, 10 to 20 with the right systems in place. Hopefully after this call, though, you can do it for yourself in the next 1 to 3 years, maybe in 5 to 10 years at the maximum. Obviously, if you're making wealth, you want to cut expenses, live below your means so long as you possibly can to kind of maximize the returns. And then understand what is your goal for making income. What is your freedom number? Is that a new concept for you? If it is, freedom number just means that how much money a month do you need in passive income that will pay for your whole lifestyle? Now, I'm not saying your dream lifestyle of taking cruises and going on trips. That is part of freedom, obviously, but there are levels of financial freedom. The first level you should be aiming for in building wealth should be breaking down your overall expenses every single month. So you need to have $2K a month, $5K or $10K to survive and pay for your bills and have some left over. That's your freedom number. Now, when we break down this kind of income strategies, there's 2 main ways to make money in the world. There's obviously 7, but there's 2 main ones. There's passive income and there's active income. Again, I try to turn all my active income and active time into passive income. So I'm either training my time to make passive income, or I'm training income, money, into passive income. So in the beginning, as a business owner and investor, that's be your goal as well. Now, since you're already in this call, though, I'm going to break down the 4 main ways people do what they do to become financially free and get wealth. The first most common way in the world is through saving. Now, as we know, that works for some people. I know my great-great-great-grandparents had like $1 million saved up before they passed away. They lived on a farm, they had all the food on the land and everything like that. So they didn't need a whole bunch of money. What's up, Christina? Thanks for popping on here. Happy to see you. So they didn't need a whole lot of money, to survive. However, after they passed away and the next generation came around, the next generation blew all that money. Now, here's the thing, though. That did not happen. Inflation will take it from them anyways. Inflation right now, I think in 2022, like 8.5%, maybe 9.1% at the height. So that means every single year, they're losing out almost 10% of all their money. That's a lot of money to be losing out on $1 million saved up. But that is the average goal of most Americans. Save $900,000 to $1 million for the next 30, 40 years. Now, if you do that, our next strategy, number one is saving. As we know, inflation will destroy that. So that's not the best option. Saving does not work as well as the other options we have on this video today. Our next one is 401ks and Roth IRAs. Now, for that one, I'm kind of investing into a system making more money. The average American, again, the goal is to make around $1 million saved up in the next 30 to 50 years in that IRA or inside of the 401k. And when you do that, the bank will give you 4% to live off of every single year. So that means making $900,000, you make around $1 million, you make around $36,000 a year of passive income from your investment you made past 30, 50 years. It's not a lot, right? Even less than that is $3K a month. So if your goal for financial freedom was higher than $5K a month, you need to save, $1.8 million in the next 30 to 50 years to achieve that. It's a lot, right? So the fastest way, though, is to do this. Now, this is a good strategy to have as a backup plan. If you make a lot of extra income, you should definitely do this as well. But it should not be an only plan. So far, we've broken down two strategies. Save your way to wealth, which doesn't work, as we have discovered, due to inflation and cost of living overall as a whole. And our next one is IRAs and 401ks. Now, I built a multi-million-dollar business in the past couple of years, probably around $500 million this year alone in volume in real estate, and became $1 million by 30. And I did not do saving the money to do that, or not do a 401k, obviously, as well. Now, if we break down how much money that 401k be worth 40, 50 years from now, when that first happened, in 1970, let's say that my grandparents or your grandparents, or you maybe yourself, had $100,000. Today, that same amount of money is like a buying power of like $10,000. So it's like, let's say 100K back then is like 800K in all generation now, but backwards. It's not a huge income for you. And this is why I say you should not just do savings or you should not just do 401ks. But think about this. You have inflation for one. And number two, let's say college, for example, on cost of goods. Back in 1970, to go to college, 1970, go to college would cost $1,900. It cost you $150 a year to go to school. That is crazy cheap, right? Even times 10 for the cost of inflation and everything else, that's like $10,000 a year for school at Harvard or at top level schools. Nowadays, for average tuition, it's around $38,000. I had a full ride in college, luckily. If I didn't have a full ride in college, I would have paid, 30, 40K a year to be in school. And most of you guys probably feel the same exact way, paying much money. So that means that in the past 150 years, school has increased 35 times more in income and value to afford that. Now, if you break down our next one, for income or how many people are making back in the day, people made $1.60, 50 years ago, and now they make $7.25 minimum wage. That's only a 4.5x multiplier. So this is why I'm saying having just savings account or 401k should not be the only option. If we do that, again, I'm gonna lose most of my money to inflation, and it's the cost of goods overall costs me more money to buy more stuff. So that'll do our third option. Most of you guys right now watching this are part of real estate agents like myself. And we all know real estate is one of the best investments. Now, if I want to invest in real estate, let's say 50 years ago, back in 1955, I could buy a house for $20,000. It was the median house price back in the day. That same house is now worth $329,000. That's a 13x multiplier in 50 years. What's going on, Sam? Thanks for popping on here. For those popping on this call right now, I'm breaking down the 4 fastest paths to making true wealth and generational freedom. I became a millionaire by 30, and these are what I've learned super heavily to kind of be here as fast as possible. Again, wealth is a language anyone can learn. And so far, we've broken down that savings is probably the best way to do that because inflation and its cost of life is always increasing. 401ks, the average American's goal is to save $900,000 within the next, 40 to 50 years. That pays them out around $36,000 a year or $3,000 a month, which is not a whole lot of money to retire on. And our next one is to invest your active income money you have into passive income or into real assets like real estate. And for example, if I bought a house, 40, 50 years ago for $20,000, that same home is now worth $329,000 in some markets. That means I made a 13x multiplier. So I beat inflation. I'm a little behind college tuition still. So investing in college, obviously be super powerful if you can do that. But let's do some big math for you guys. If I wanted to make $36,000 a year, the same math for the 401k, with a 4% rule, I need to buy around 6 homes that bring in around $500 a month. Now, I'm going to use $300 because most people like bigger pockets will say the $100 rule. If I have one door, that door's to pay me $100 per door and positive cash flow. After expenses and taxes, termites, tenants, and toilets, that's about $100 per door. I'm going to use $300 though to make it easy math here. I need to have around 10 homes to make $36,000 a year, $10 a month. So $3,000 a month, 10 doors for me to do that. That means I need to have around $1.1 million in down payments to make that happen, which is $5.5 million worth of real estate. Average price in Austin, Texas is $550. So that means that I need to find a way to have $1 million in down payments. So it can take me 20, 30 years to do that. But here's the best thing about this. If I'm doing 401ks, I'm only making $36,000 a year, plus the inflation still happening to it. So I'm still losing money every single year I'm doing that. Now, real estate, though, my appreciation in the next 50 years from now, if the same 30x multiplier happens, like they did in the past 50 years before us, that means I'll have a net worth of $66 million. Who wants that? Type that in investing down below. That sounds crazy to you and powerful. So I'm going to have around $66 million in net worth by doing that. And I'm going to make around $1.8 million in cash flow in the next 50 years. Honestly, probably way more because after, 20, 30 years, house is paid off by somebody else, more than likely. And now I'm seeing more money making for cash flow. So that sounds a pretty good plan. So far, we have savings money doesn't work. 401ks, good for backup, not the best route. And investing has been the best so far. Now your total asset is worth $71 million by spending $1 million today. So 50 years from now, that $1 million will become $70 million and $1.8 million in cash flow. If you want to, you can even throw in depreciation and have no taxes on top of that. A lot of taxes can be used for real estate. So that is so good. So far, so good. It's the best one we've seen. However, I have an even better one for you. My favorite one is agent attraction and building a team. My team right now is 125 plus people across 20 states, and it pays for my wife and my life every single month on clockwork. I have total freedom and financial freedom. So time and financial freedom. Now, I'll use the math that I have a friend here in the company. He's like 3 years ahead of me right now. He makes way more than I do currently a month. Last month, he made over $255,000. So if his income didn't change one bit in the next 30, 40 years, which is impossible due to compound growth, I think this math right here for $255K a month he made was like a year and a half ago. Now it's even more. So that means if he didn't change anything for the next 50 years, he'd make over $156 million in cash flow. And if that cash flow, like I'm saying before, you should use that money to buy real estate, to buy businesses, to buy investments. Because at the end of the day, having a team is amazing, but that cash flow you're making from your businesses, from your team, to be poured into hard assets, is going to last for generations. That makes sense, guys? This is why it's so powerful to combine the two. Real estate is the best vehicle out there. It's one of the best. But agent attraction, you see right here, I'm making twice as much from my team in the next 50 years than I would make from real estate on a first-hand basis. Now, if I threw that money into real estate, then the award's limit. You can build there easily in the next 50 years. What's going on, Mark? Thanks for popping on here. Hope to see you at Build pretty soon. And then if you look at Albert Einstein, my favorite quote he has, the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest, which happens through appreciation, happens to your team, if you have EXP, a business model like us as well. So again, if I break down the math side by side, I've made $83 million more in 50 years for agent attraction than I did for real estate. Because in real estate, I made $73 million with appreciation and cash flow. And with agent attraction at $255 a month, I made around $156 in the next $156 million in the next 50 years. It's an $83 million difference. Now I could use math that's even smaller. Let's say I make $60K or $100K a year for my team. My team will make me $2 million in the next 50 years, or actually 20 years. So the next 50 years would be like $6 million I'd make for my team. That's just $100K a year. It's not as much as real estate, but it's still way more than your 401ks and savings. Because for your 401k, I'm making, $36 a year. With my team, I'm making more than that on year one. And obviously, if you do it the right way, I can teach you in our programs, it's be growing every single month. My team will probably be around 300 people in the next 6 months from now. And from that, I can pour that money into real estate investments. So this is the 4 main ways you can kind of build wealth as fast as possible. Some great books to read, though, for free for you guys to look into is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Obviously, one of the best books out there to read. The Richest Man in Babylon is one of my favorite ones to read. The Psychology of Money, Think and Grow Rich, and Building an Empire. Those are 5 books I recommend you guys to read as fast as possible about building wealth. And also check out my millionaire mentor and wealth advisor, Christina Wise. She's on my podcast. She was in my group today for the Royal Circle, breaking down all things wealth, which was inspiring me to stop out today for the 4 fastest paths making wealth for yourself. And you want to help build your own team for agent attraction to have, a huge income stream to pull that passive income into more passive income into real estate, then book call me down below. Look at my bio, my links, either in my chat box or inside my pinned post above to find my best scripts. Help you build your team as fast as possible. But as always, y'all kings and queens, and abundance is your birthright. I'll see you at the top. And thanks.